Suppose it's like a library, an open library where you can come read book, you can place your own books, which is your contribution. You can take someone else's book, go home, read, and put it back again. So in a way you are contributing to the community, also benefiting from the community. So how do many people collaborate on a single code base? Well, suppose you are working on a big tech firm and there are 10 different folders, suppose. And so if I were to work on a particular folder by myself, I know that this thing will be here, this thing will be here, I could work with it. If 10 different people were to join and work on a single file, say, then suppose person one made the changes, and you also want that changes to in your computer, and there was no version control system. So what would happen is that you would obviously need a flash drive or an email, and he would send you code again and again and again. Becomes hectic. A simple solution: make the code publicly available, and not publicly but available on version control system, be it publicly or privately, and share with the peers. What it will do is that it will maintain so it will allow all of you to gather a piece of code from a particular place, clone it onto your desktops or computers, and then use that particular, and then make changes to it, and then make a pull request, or I would say that push your changes to that particular piece of code, which will get accepted. And in this way you can keep a lot of people can work together in sync with each other. That's the thing. Also, I would say that in respectively that for version control system, the most popular version control system, as we all know, is Git. It allows you to stage your changes, and it allows you to control the version of any piece of code which you are making. Uh, what I mean by that is suppose that there are a few releases of your software, and after 1 month you find that a particular release was buggy and you want to revert it back. So you can just check out to that particular version, and that's it, your problem gets solved. If you are not using a version control system, then obviously you would need to maintain single folder, means different folders for every single release, and then see that what were the changes made, and if there's a bug, then you would need to go back to that release, thus increasing the memory limit, as well as becoming more and more hectic. For version control system, there are as I said, Git was the major, and there are a few providers for Git, which the most famous are the GitHub and Bitbucket. What they allow you to allow the facility of hosting the code base so that you can clone it using Git on your computer, and then contribute it using the various commands of the Git. So that's how many people contribute on a single code base. If there are any doubts, you can write it on chat, and I will look into that and tell you. Okay, what is version control system exactly? I would say, okay, Aruna, let us say that you are working on a particular project. I would say that you are working on a calculator. You first add a simple function called add. Secondly, you add a simple function called multiply, and thirdly, you add a simple function called delete. Not delete, divide. So these three functions you add. Now if you are not now what I would say is that you made different releases for this. Now let us say that when you made the divide release, recently you discovered a bug in multiply release. So if you were to work there was no bug in so what would is that if you want to work on means if you want to change that multiply version, either you had to keep all of the code in different files if you are not using a version control, or what is that you can check out to that particular version, change that particular bug, and recommit it that there, so that you are maintaining that okay, this was my particular version, this has been changed and has now been fixed. So that I can say that it can be your version control system. I hope if it was understandable. Okay, so what is Hacktoberfest? Well, Hacktoberfest, I would say that it is an annual open source event which is organized, which is conducted by DigitalOcean every year. What you do in that is that it runs every year from 1 October to 31st October, where you try to make contributions to the open source community. It was generally created so that more and more people develop the not develop but try to contribute to open source and get out the fear that open source is heavy or something. So it is just to encourage you to participate in open source and make yourself more compatible, and you are not afraid of contributing. So it is run by Digital Ocean. What you do in this is you need to create 4 PRs, PRs that each PR can be of any type: a typo, issue fix, a feature addition, or any other thing. But that PR needs to be accepted, needs to be marked as a valid PR for any issue which you are maintaining. So how to do that? You can register yourself on Hacktoberfest and check, go to the different repositories which are working which are participating in the Hacktoberfest. Go to their issue section, either find an issue in their code base. You can find if there's something, say bug is there, or if you want to add a feature, you can make an issue for that, or either create a PR. A PR means a pull request for an issue. Ask the contributors or ask the maintainers of that particular repo to assign the issue. Since a lot of people are working, since a lot of people try to ask for issues in Hacktoberfest, it is better to ask first so that no one is working prior to you and your hard work doesn't get wasted. Now, if when the issue is assigned to you, create a PR for that. If your PR gets merged and it gets and is valid, then and is marked as valid by the maintainer, then that counts as a progress to your Hacktoberfest. You need to make 4 PRs to get a T-shirt, and also there is a 14 days period for PRs to get mature. In that time only it gets either as valid PR or invalid PR. Try not to do invalid PRs, as if you do too many invalid PRs, Hacktoberfest might disqualify you. Also, Hacktoberfest, it is a time where many people contribute actually. So it has also, you can say that Hacktoberfest can also act as a stepping stone for GSOC. So as I was saying that visit the link which is mentioned here, hacktoberfest.digitalocean.com, find the repositories and make a pull request. Make your PR valid, and it would be automatically valid PR within 14 days. And if it's not valid, then it's your means try not to make invalid, as I said. Also, apart from this Hacktoberfest, a lot of organizations also offer their swags as well. So try to contribute in more and more organizations, and you will means it would be a benefit for you, as you also get swags, and you also get your development experience also holds up. So try to contribute as much as possible. For the next few slides, you would need to understand, for contributing to Hacktoberfest, you would need to understand how the Git flow, means how to contribute. For that, you will need the understanding of Git and GitHub. For that, I would like to call Purushottam here, and he will guide you further.
So here we will understand how working with repositories and project work, how you work with the repositories and project using GitHub. So what happens is that this development Linode is, consider this as your local computer, and this third one, original repo project or owner of the project. So what happens is that the repo owner has this project hosted somewhere in the remote Git provider like GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab, most popular. So in the form of a repository, the project is there, and there is some issue in that project. You went to that project. You think that you can solve that project. So what you will do? First, you will fork the repo. Forking a repo creates a remote copy of that repo in your GitHub account. Then after which you will be having a copy of that project in your GitHub account. That is also a remote project. Then you clone that copied project, means forked project, not to say copy here, because you have done it for contribution purposes. So you will clone that fork the project into your local system by using clone and after you have it in your local development system, you make changes to solve those issues, and you push those changes again back to your local remote fork. From that fork, you can now open a pull request to the original project owner's repo, and that PR can be afterwards merged based on the review. Means if it is satisfying the needs of that issue and solving it properly, then it can get merged and become the part of the project. So this is the workflow of Git. So coming to the next part, understanding how you work with local project means how you work with Git. So previous one was how you work with GitHub to get the project in your local system. Now comes your development and Git part. How you use Git to enhance your development. So what you do is that during development, the files with Git, you have files in three types of files, means three areas where you can keep your file. One is working directly, the bottommost one. Here you make changes to the files according to your needs or whatever. After you are satisfied with those things, you stage them. Staging is called marking files with certain command. There is a command, you mark them staged in the files. Those are staged are then tracked by Git or changes. Git tracks the changes in the file automatically. After that, whatever changes you will make to those files, Git will track them properly. And after you are satisfied with your staging area changes, you commit them. You commit those all those files. Changes can be in multiple files. So let's say you are having multiple files in staging area. After you are satisfied with changes in all those, you make a commit of those changes, and you do development in the form of commits. Like you want to make a calculator, then you will make, say, a commit for a add function, commit for multiplication function, so that if a bug comes, you go to that commit and edit that commit. So you are able to do your development efficiently. And those commits are then pushed to the remote repository, and then and then you can open pull request for those commits to get merged into the owner's repo. So this was the workflow of development using Git. And now Arpit will show demo of this, the how you actually do these. So I will hand over now to Arpit to show this demo.
Thanks, Purushottam. Hi, everyone. Now I will show you what the basic workflow for creating a PR. For a PR, I will use this normal repository, it's a Purushottam, and I will use this repository to create a PR in this repository. Now, the step one is I need to fork this repository. So I click on fork. Now, when you fork it, like I already forked it, so it just opened. Now, when you just click on this button, it will fork it. It will create a copy in your own account. So you can see it's Arpit Shukla as TF search. It has been forked from IC project 01/TF search. There are already some commits in here, and now I want to contribute to this fork. Step one is I need to create clone of it. You can either copy the URL from here, or you can copy the one from here. And now just open your terminal. Now run a simple git clone command to clone that repository in your own machine. You just clone it, and now you can use your favorite ID to open this. Now I'm using IntelliJ. Just file, open, download, search, and I will open it here in a new window. I have opened the repository, and like just to start with, the first command I will run is git status. See what's the status of the file. So I'm on the main branch and everything's up to date. Second thing I would like to test is git log command. The output of git log is like quite bulky, so our preferred way is run a git log with a one-line flag. So it will give all the commits in single line. So there were these three commits: error paragraph tag, my first commit, and initial commit. Now I want to work in some feature. I want to add some feature to it. The preferred way is first you create your own branch, a feature branch. To create our own widget, we can check out and pass a -b flag to create a new branch if it does not exist. And let's say my branch name is feature. Let's say my feature. So I created this branch. Now I'm in this branch. Now I need to make my changes, whatever changes I feel, to add a feature. For the demonstration purpose, I will not do one big change. Let's say, for example, I just create a new h2 heading, my own name. Hello, Arpit. Like in real, you will be making some real features, adding some real features. For demonstration, Let's say this is our feature. We add this feature. Again, done git status, and I have modified one file. So I need to commit it. I hope you are aware of the basic commit features. If not, you can just write a git add dot. What we'll do is it will push these changes to the staging area, as Purushottam told. Now these are only in the working directory. When we run git add, it just pushes those changes to the staging area. And now we can just run git status again, and these changes are ready to be committed. These files have been modified. Now to commit these changes, run a git commit command. And you can also pass the title here. So my first feature, or whatever name the proper name you want to give, just commit it. Now it's been committed. Just check the log if it's available there. One line. So I have my head in the my feature branch, and I've added the new my feature commit. Now I need to push these changes to my fork. Just run a normal git push, and it will push your changes, whatever changes you made. It will push those changes to your upstream branch. Let's check. So it says that I have new updates here. So it is my feature branch, and my changes have been my first feature. Like if you go to the last commit, this is what I just changed. This has been pushed. Now this is just available in my own account. I want to make a pull request so that the original account from where I forked, they can merge my changes. Just go to contribute, and you can open a pull request here. Now you can just add a title, my first PR, add a description. Some organizations have some proper formats where you need to submit a description. Just you need to follow those instructions. Here we do not have any instructions, so that normal description. Added a new heading tag. This is the title of the PR. This is the description. And before finally creating the pull request, just review those changes. That whatever you want to push, that's the correct thing, and you have not made any mistake, like not added any extra files or not forgot something. So this is what I wanted to push. Everything is okay. Now I create a pull request. So now we are in the main repo, and I have created a new pull request. So it is available here. So there are different tabs available. It's a commit tab where I can see what are the different commits that I have been added to my pull request. These are checks. We do not have any checks here. Some repositories have checks, so they will be run. You need not worry about this right now. And the file change section, whatever changes were made in this pull request. Purushottam, can you review my PR? Just add a review. Something.
1 minute.
Now after submitting a PR, you can either move on to the next issue or just wait, because you have to just wait for the maintainer to reply, like what he thinks about your changes. Either he will accept those changes or he will suggest some changes. What changes do you need to make? If he suggests changes, you need to make those changes and then create a new commit and push that. Let's wait for the review for here. So Purushottam, that this would look better with an S3 tag. So he has suggested me to use an S3 tag. So, okay, let's do it. Let's go back to our working area. And he asked me to use an S3 tag. So I use an S3 tag here. And just a status for this file. Okay, status, this is modified. Now add it and add a commit. Replace H2 with H3, a proper commit message. Get a commit, we push it. And now when you push it to your own account, Git is smart enough to add this in a PR. So this will automatically be added in the PR section. So here you can see my first feature and then replace H2 with H3. So go to the file change section. Now H2 has been replaced with H3, and now just tag the maintainer, just review it again. So I'll just write a message. I made these changes. Please review. Just add a comment. Purushottam, can you review it again? Okay, the maintainer is okay with the commit and is approved our changes. And now here's merge my pull request. So now if you go to the code section and the commits, so whatever commits I made, they are now available in the main branch. This is how you can submit your own changes to the main repo. Just create a PR, ask the maintainer to review it. If he's satisfied with the changes, he will just merge the changes, or he will suggest some changes, make those changes, submit, ask for another review, and then this process continues until he's satisfied, and then the PR can be finally merged. So this is how you create your first PR. So this is for the PR creation part. Next, I will show you some advanced Git commands that will help you with your Git working. So let's explore some advanced Git commands now. I will close the windows here. Close this. Okay, so I have a new repository. This is not right now a Git repository, so just let me make it a Git repository. I write Git in it, and now it is a Git repository. Run Git status. I have few files where I made changes, but these are untracked yet. Git does not know about these files. First, we need to add them to the staging area. Now, while adding, you can either add individual files one by one, like file1, file2.txt. These files do not have any special code in this, just a demo, just one line. So you can just write it like this, or you can just use git add dot. It will add all the files at once. So git status again, and these have been tracked, now are ready to be committed. And you have this option to like remove a file. If you have added a file by mistake, you can remove it as well. Like for example, let me remove one file. Remove the file 3. It has been removed. Git status again. So this is untracked, and these are ready to be committed. Let's create our first another commit here. So git commit -m, add file1, and let's make a typo here, file2. This is how your normal commit will look like. Just on a git log. I have an alias for this, git elf. So I have made a commit git add file1 and file2. Now I made a typo. It should be and I just wrote ad. How to fix it? To fix the last, it's just our last commit, so it's quite simple. We have a amend flag with each commit. So what we can do is we can just write git commit and just pass an amend flag. It will amend the last commit, and you can just add another message here, add file1 and file2. Just remember that it will rewrite the history. So if you run git log again, our original hash was 3ef something, and our new hash is 7ab. So make sure you do not push such changes, force push these history rewrites in a public repository, because it will break things. This is in our local copy, so I can make all those changes that I wish to improve this PRs. So let's say there was another problem. I forgot to add file 3 in the last commit. So ideally the file 3 should also have been in the last commit. So I need to fix it again. So you can just add the file 3 right now. And I don't want to create separate commit, but I meant the last commit itself. So again, I can do the same command, git commit, amend flag, and let's update the message as well. Add file1, file2, and file3. So now if you run the git log, file1, file2, and file3 all were added, and everything is not right. This was the first thing. If you want to update your last commit, fix a typo, or you forgot to add something, you can fix it here. The second thing is stashing. For example, consider this case that you are working in some particular feature. This is some feature 1 is a work in progress, and you are working on multiple files. Feature 2 work in progress, and in between you are asked to fix some other bug. You need to leave these changes here and you need to fix some bugs. Suppose you are working on a feature and your manager asks you that there is some bug in this file 3. You need to fix it. So stop what you are doing right now and fix it. So you need a way to keep all those changes separate from the main directory because you do not want to commit these. So I need a way so that I can remove all these changes from the current working directory, but I should be able to undo it when I am done fixing the bug. So a simple way to do is run git stash. What it will do is it will remove all those changes that you made. Feature 1 gone, feature 1 here gone, and you can view all the stashes in git stash list. I have one stash there which was built on top of this commit. So this is available in the stash. Now I can go to file 3. I can add some bug fixing code. And now I can create a commit. So git add file 3 and create a commit. -m bug fixed. So now I fixed that bug. This stash is there in the history. So Git knows that there's a stash existing right now. You can see at the top our bug fix command is there. Now I want to bring all the work that I was doing earlier, that the feature 1 work in progress and the feature 2 work in progress in this file. So a simple command. You want to apply those changes. This one git stash apply. What it will do is it will take all the changes from the stash and apply in the code. You can see my code is back. In this case, it's just 2 lines, but it might be like dozens of files with hundreds of lines of code because you left your work in between. And now these 2 files are untracked. So I can just add them. Before adding them, show the git stash list. So the stash is still maintained by Git, but normally we don't want it because once we have applied those changes, we want Git to just forget about this. To remove them, we can use the command git stash drop. So it just drop the stash, and most of the time you will find yourself using these 2 commands simultaneously. That is git stash apply and git stash drop. So Git provides a shortcut for that. You can use git stash pop. So what it will do is just run git apply first, git stash apply, followed by a git stash drop. It's very handy. I do not have anything else, so it will not pop anything out. And now let me just commit it. So I have 2 untracked files. Add both of these to the staging area and commit them. Update, finish, feature 1. So that is also done. So this was about stashing, where you can leave your unfinished work and just to work on something else and then continue from where you left. Next, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about interactive rebasing. So interactive rebasing allows you to do a lot of stuff like rewording commits, deleting commits, reordering commits. Let's explore all this one by one. So this is our git log. First, let's talk about rewording commits. So if you want to change the title for the message for the last commit, we can do it by git amend. But what if we have to change the message for some previous commit? Like this bug fixed, I want to rename it to fix the bug, just for a change. So we can use a git rebase command for this, and followed by a -i flag, which means that it's an interactive rebase. Now you want to mention from how far you want to do it, like it's 2 commits far from the current commit. We can write head. This is our head, and just go 2 steps back. So head, and this tilde sign represents that we need to go to the second parent of head. So this is kind of this. The moment you press enter, it will open your normal default editor which you have. Now you have a lot of options here: pick, reword, edit, quash, fix up, a lot of there. We will explore this one by one. So first, what I want is I want to reword this. Just type reword here, or you can also just type simple R here. Even just an R will work. Save it and quit it. It will open another editor and will give you the option to edit the message. So I had a bug fixed. Let's call it fix the bug. Save it, quit it. Now when you run git log, the message has been updated. But if you take a look at the hashes. It was 572C9 and E5. both of these have been updated. So we have rewritten history. This is not the commit that we wrote first. This has been updated. This is a new commit. The changes are the same, but now it has a new hash, so it will be considered a new commit from Git. That was about rewording commit. Let's talk about deleting commit. Say I need to delete this commit itself, the fix the bug commit. I don't want it. This was not a bug, and I want to delete it. What we can do is just run the same command again. Now to delete, you can use this drop option. It will remove the commit. One way, just write drop. Another way is just write D. And even better is just remove this entire line. If you remove the entire line, it will not be part of the new tree, Git tree we have. Save the changes, quit it, run git log again, and the commit is gone. We don't have this commit anymore, and this hash has again changed. So we have rewritten history again. So deleting it that simple. So this was about deleting commits. Let's talk about reordering commits. Before talking about reordering, let me create some more commits here. Another feature, feature 2, feature 3, and we have a feature 4 here. 2, 3, and 4. Let's create 3 commits for this. Add file 1, mega commit, feature 2, done. Now add the second file, file 2, commit it. This is feature 3, and similarly do for the third file. So now when I run git log, I have these new commits here, feature 2, feature 3, feature 4. Now what I want was, I want these two get swapped. I want feature 2 to come up and feature 3 to go down. There can be some practical reasons for that, because we messed up the order and the other order made more sense. So again, git rebase is for SQ, git rebase -i, and instead of typing head, you can also use this @ sign. It refers to head, and we want to 3 commits back. So you can write 3 commits back, or you can also use this caret symbol. So 1 caret means go to the parent, and 3 caret means 3 steps back. We have this editor, and I want to swap the position of feature 2 and feature 3. As simple as just changing their positions here itself. So feature 3 is up and feature 2 we move down. That's it. Save it. Quit the editor. Run git log again. And now feature 3 was up, feature 2 was down. And now we have feature 2 up and feature 3 is the older one. This is how we can swap the order, reorder. We can reorder any amount of commits we want. This is about reordering. Let's talk about squashing commits. So we want this feature 2 and feature 3 to be merged into one commit. We should not have created different commits because they did not contain a lot of code. Probably we should create one commit and added those features in there. I want to merge these 2 commits into one. Technically speaking, we should squash them. Again, git rebase -i, 3 commits back. I want this feature 3 to merge into feature 3. Feature 2 should merge into feature 3. We have 2 commands here. One is squash, one is fix up. The difference is fix up stores, considers only the commit message of the parent commit and ignores the child commit. So if I write fix up here, or just let's just write F here, so it will create a new commit. Feature 2 will be removed. This commit will be removed, and the changes will be squashed with the changes in feature 3. You save it. I quit. Run git log again, and feature 2 has been removed, and now we have only feature 3. And just to verify that feature 3 contains those changes, I come here, and you can see in this window that feature 3, that commit contains changes in 2 files. One is file 1, where we added a new line, feature 2, and another is file 2, where we added this new feature, feature 3. So we got what we expected. So that's about. Okay, let's talk about squashing as well. So we have feature 4, feature 3. We want to combine these as well. So let's run the out command. We want to combine these two features, but we want a new message. We want the new commit message to be feature 3 and feature 4. We don't want to use this parent message. Just squash it. Run squash. You save it, you quit it, and then it will open another editor. This was the first commit message, and this is the second commit message. Now you are asked to provide a new message which you would like for the commit. I'll just commit it out and just edit it. So it is feature 3 and feature 4. Or even let's call it feature 2, 3, and 4. Save it, quit. Now you are here with feature 2, 3, and 4. If I take a look at what these represent, so we have changes in file 1, file 2, file 3. So all these has been squashed into one commit. You can also play around with it. For example, let's say, let me create some more commits.
So Arpit, actually there was one request. Someone requested that can you show how to search for repos according to your skills or domain?
For Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, any repository, I guess. Yeah.
Probably Kushal or Pushottam will be better able to answer this question. Would you like to take it, Pushottam? In the chat.
I would say that my recommendation would be, suppose your skill is HTML. I'm assuming that your skill is HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, any of this. So what you can do is you can just go on GitHub, search on the whole GitHub for the tag HTML, just HTML. A lot of repos will pop up, but you would need to do some filtering. Apart from that, you can also search on Google for first. I think it is named first contributions. That will help you start with your basic PR. And always you can means googling is the best option whenever you want to search for a particular skill set, but if you want to go by tag, you can go for GitHub. I would say that. Apart from that, we will try to post some resources for some basic repositories for which you can contribute.
If possible, like we can do a live demo of filtering using GitHub, right?
Yes, I think Arpit might be able to do that.
If you can do that, that will be great.
Should I stop sharing my screen?
Like
I
switch
think you
over.
can continue if what you were saying. Can we continue after that? Means what Arpit is showing after that. Can we continue?
Yeah.
If it's fine.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Okay, and for the Git doubts, I think Lakshya has cleared all of them. Seems so. So thanks, Lakshya, for clearing this out. And I was about to create few more commits. There's few more features here. How you can use Git rebase to do crazy stuff, whatever you want. New changes here. Add those changes. File 1.txt. Create a commit. File 1 changed. Add changes of file 2. New commit. File 2 changed. Add file 3. And file 3 changed. Let's take a look at the log. We have new commits here. File 1 changed, file 2 changed, file 3 changed. And we have change requirements. We want to, let's say, swap these two order of these two, and we want to squash these two in two. Not a big deal. Rebase. What we want is that we want this commit to be the latest commit. File 1 is now the oldest commit. We want it to be the latest commit. Bring it down. I want file 3 to squash into file 2. Squash it. Save it. Quit. And now provide a squash message for file 2 and 3. File 2 and 3. Delete this file or comment it, however you like it. Save it. Quit. Get log. Now file 1 is the newest commit. File 2 and 3 have squash in 2. So it provides you a lot of features. You can do whatever your requirement is. That's the power of Git. So I hope we should be clear about. There are more options as well, but for the sake of this workshop, let's keep it this as well. Now let's talk about cherry picking commits. So for cherry picking, let me switch to a different repository. So when do we need cherry pick? What is cherry pick? Suppose you are working in an organization and there are 2 feature branches currently in progress. One is feature 1 and you are working feature 2. Now feature 1 branch will have multiple commits, and there's one particular commit that you are interested in. Suppose a new data structure was introduced in that commit, or a new REST endpoint was introduced in that commit. Ultimately, you want to fetch those changes that were in feature 1. So normally, one way is to just wait until feature 1 gets merged into develop branch, and then you can merge that develop into your own branch. But feature 1 is a big feature, and there is no hope that it will be merged and develop in distant future. So we don't want to wait for feature 1 to get merged to continue working with our feature 2. So one way is that all those changes that we want from feature 1, we can pick those changes and apply in our own branch. This way, we don't have to wait for branch merging. Or maybe there's a case that the branches will never merge. For example, let's consider a situation. You are creating a Windows OS. You started with Windows 7. You made a repository. You added some features to it. Now you are done with Windows 7, and now you want to start working Windows 8. So create a new branch from the last feature that you made, and now you are working with Windows 8. So you are also side by side providing some new updates to Windows 7, which are only specific for Windows 7. They should not be applied on Windows 8. And you are providing some new features for Windows 8, which have no connection with Windows 7. And now you found out that there is a security bug there that is on Windows 7 as well as Windows 8. So you need to fix that bug, but you don't want to do it 2 times because it's a common bug, and you want to only fix it once. You want to bring all those changes to your other branch, Windows 7 or Windows 8. So first take a look, what do we have here? So this is all the setup that we have here. This is the initial commit. This was feature 1 in Windows 7, and we added this feature in Windows 7 branch. And then after that, we created a Windows 8 branch. In Windows 8, we added 2 new features, feature 2, feature 3. And in Windows 7, we added a new feature, feature 4. Now we found that feature 1, if I show what was feature 1, it contained of this file. We added this file, and this file contained a line which contains a bug. And now we need to fix it, but just once. So let's see which repo we are in. So the head is at Windows 7. So let's just fix it in Windows 7 itself. So remove this line, the bug is fixed. That was easy. Add this file, add everything, create a new commit, bug fixed. Take a look at the log. And the bug has been fixed in Windows 7. It's still there in Windows 8. Now you want to use this commit in Windows 8 branch. First, let me check out that Windows 8 branch. Windows 8, git log. Our head is in Windows 8 branch, and now we want to pick this particular commit. So the command is git cherry pick. It does what the name is. Now we need to provide a commit which we want to pick. So in this case, we want to pick this commit. So we need to provide a hash. We need to write at least 4 characters, and that will be sufficient. If the 4 characters are creating a conflict, that is, we have multiple commits with these 4 characters, we will have to provide even more characters. But in this case, this will suffice. We write git cherry pick, and we are done. That's it. Git L. And now in Windows 8 also we have this bug fixed commit. Notice that the hashes are different, so it's a new commit with the same changes. So we have brought our changes from Windows 7 to Windows 8, and other things intact. We have cherry picked it. In this case, I cherry picked just 1 commit, but you can do for more. If, for example, I want these feature 2 and feature 3 in Windows 7 as well. So let's go to Windows 7. Check out Windows 7. And now I want to pick these feature 2 and feature 3. So again, git cherry pick. And the syntax is to first write the older commit hash, which is 349E, followed by new commit is 95C4. But it has this property that it excludes this commit and it includes this. So it will take everything after this commit till this commit. What we want is want to include this particular commit. This will exclude it. So one way is we refer to its parent, and then the parent will be ignored and everything else will be taken. So either we write DD6E in place of 349E, or we can just use a caret here. So caret refers to the parent commit. Just run this command, run the git log again, and now we have feature 2, feature 3 in Windows 7 as well. Again, these are new commits, new hashes, but we have brought all the changes from Windows 8 to Windows 7. So that's how you can cherry pick one or multiple commits from a different branch to another branch. Normally, this should not be used in some cases because it leads to code duplication. But there are some cases where the use is must. So in this case, we had to use cherry pick. There was no other way around. So this was about cherry pick, and I would like to cover a last thing, which is what's a force push. Let's remove what is force push. When do we need it? So this is currently not a Git repo. This is a sample repo. I want to share my project on GitHub. Just share it. Add everything to the initial commit. This is how you normally host a project. Now this is available in my GitHub. So one commit, initial commit, and it is available. Now you want to work on it. So you made few changes. Few changes are here. This includes a bug we don't know about. We have made few changes, but unknowingly we introduce a new bug here. We start with git add dot. We make a commit. This is a buggy commit. We don't know about it, but we committed it. Now what is the next obvious step? Push these changes. We pushed it. If I refresh it, I have a new commit here, which is a buggy commit. So these are all the changes. Ignore this file. So I made a few changes here, but this includes a bug. Now, right after pushing it, or maybe after some time, you realize that you introduce a bug. The first thing that comes in your mind is, let's remove it from the repo. This you should not do, because like the first thing that comes to your mind is just reset back. Reset is another command to the previous commit. Let me use the hash itself. So we started from this initial commit and we made a buggy commit. We want to revert it. So what we run is we run a git reset command to 1E33 and we do a hard reset. This fixes something. I made the wrong commit. It should be 9D initial commit, 9D05. So we have reverted our changes, reset the repo to a previous state, and that is one power of Git. It allows you to maintain different versions. You can anytime revert back to a previous version. But what will happen? Let me try to push it. The push failed. Why? It is because updates are rejected because the tip of your current branch is behind its remote counterpart. So a remote branch is ahead of our current branch, local branch. We cannot push these changes. The first thing that comes to mind is, let's do the force push. What it will do it will force those pushes, and if you have write access to the repository, it will just write those changes. Let's try it once. What it does, it forced it. So right now we had this commit hash 1E33, and now that commit is gone. But it will create problems. How? Let's try to write some. Suppose this is our remote branch. We had a commit A. We wrote a commit B. Your local repository, you had a A, and then you commit B. And this is your teammate. Earlier you both were at commit A. He was only having commit A. Now you pushed a buggy commit, and what he did was he took a pull from the repository. So now he's at this state. Now all of them are same state, but all of them have a buggy commit in their Git tree. You realize it later in the third, okay, let's revert it back. to revert it back, you tried to push, it failed. So what you did is you did a force push. This failed as well. But did this solve the problem? Probably not, because this buggy commit is still present in your teammates Git tree. So if you make some new changes and if it pushes these changes on the origin, that buggy commit will come back. So our problem is not solved. We need to do something else. So force push should be avoided as much as possible in case of public repositories. So if you are force pushing in a repository where someone else can take a pull, avoid force push in most of the cases, probably in all of the cases. Do not do a force push in public repos. You can do it in your own repo, but do not do it in public repo. If not a force push, what else can we do? We have pushed a buggy commit. Let's push it again. I removed it. So we were in this state. Get status. We have this new file. What we did was, this is how we created that commit. And we pushed it. The buggy commit is there in the remote repository, but I want it to remove it. So we should not use revert, reset or something, because it will change the history. We need something which does not change the history. So for this, we have another command called revert. What does this command do? It reverts all the changes made in a particular commit. So our buggy commit was this one, 7EE7. I'll write 7EE7. It will revert the commit and will ask for a commit message. Let's keep this message for now. Save it, quit. And now it created a new commit. So it was a buggy commit, and then we reverted that commit. We did not change the history. So if I now say git push, it will just push it. Now we have a new commit in our repository. And if we look at the changes, so the buggy commit had these changes. 2 new lines added, 1 line removed. And let's look what the revert commit says. 2 lines removed, 1 line added. So it just reverted all the commits. So if you have added a file, it will remove it. If you remove the file, it will add it. If you made some changes in the file, it will undo all those changes. This is the recommended and the right way of fixing bugs which you introduce in the commit. If you want to just revert the commit, and that will be good. So in case you, let me draw the diagram again. Go on. We'll type again. So you had commit A. This is the buggy commit. You added this buggy commit there. Your teammate took a pull. This is buggy commit. Now what did you reverted a commit? So you added a new commit, you pushed it, and now your friend is working on a different commit on a feature. Now your friend has this structure and you have this. So when he will try to push these changes in the origin, you'll have to merge it. And when he will merge it, he will take all the changes from C in his local repo, local fork, whatever it is, clone, and his history will be something like this. Like it will create a merge commit, but let's say the rebase or something. The new history will be something like this. So things are fixed, everyone is happy. This is how you should avoid force push and use git revert instead. That's it, I think, from my side. Do you have any doubts that are yet unanswered? Laksh, are there any doubts in the chat that I need to address?
I don't think there are any doubts. We can move on to the demonstration for searching issues, I guess.
Okay. Kushal, would you like to take over?
Hello, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes.
You're audible.
So about topic searching, I cannot share currently my screen because I am in mobile. So what I was saying is that you can append slash topics and whatever topic name like C++ or Java or whatever is your topic, Django or whatever, you just can append that to your URL, and it will give you the result. One thing why what I did is that I have pinned the message for pinned the steps for topic searching. Like it means you can do it through GitHub UI. It provides very good UI for that. That is why I am avoiding that demo, because like we have other things planned and that will take time in between.
Pratham, if you want, I can share the screen. Will that be all right?
Yeah, that will be fine.
Okay, so I will share my screen. Just a second. Okay, so is my screen visible? Okay, great. So what I can do is I can go over here. This is github.com, right? So I can go over here, search for Hacktoberfest, all GitHub. And what I can do is I can click on topics. All right. Okay, just let's say drag and see. Over here, you can click on see topic. And this will give me all the repositories that are working on Hacktoberfest. All right. And what I can do is let's select some repository. So what we can do is let's go over here to chart.js. It's a huge repository. You can see over the stars, and what you can see is you can see over the languages, right? So it uses JavaScript, and any of one of you that is familiar with JavaScript can do its issues, right? So let's go over to the issues. You can see over here, they have documented the types, and there are issues on documentation as well. So what is this issue? Documentation for access titles is out of date. Documentation is confusing, not sure. So they have given the specification that the documentation is confusing or they are not sure about it. Okay, then there is some other things that they have mentioned over here, and then we can see someone made a PR for it. So as you can see, there is the PR, and then the maintainer is reviewing it. So this is maintaining going on over here, reviews going on over here. So that way you can search, right? I'm not audible.
You are audible actually. I think it's his net connection.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see some other repository what we can do. So I will head over back to Hacktoberfest, and then let's see what more we can do. So this is the topic. Then I can select in language. So the language I'm good at is Go. So let's wait for it. So there is Awesome Go. So Awesome Go is something which you use to learn about Golang. So there is an awesome repository for each of the things that you can imagine. So this is Awesome Go. So I can check out the issues over here, investigate repositories with more than 1 year without update. These are the things, right? So you can check over these issues. Let's see what more we have. We have a project over here. We have some more projects over here. So you can search that way, right? That makes it easier, I guess, to search. And there is one more thing you can do. So let me open that site for you. Oktoberfest swags. Yeah. So I hope everyone is familiar till now that you get after 4 PRs, you get one t-shirt and some stickers from Hacktoberfest. But there is this other site that you can use. I will drop in the link. All right. So what this is, so these are some of the organizations that give you swags if you do these things. So there is AppSmith. So what are their conditions? Make 1 PR, you get stickers. Make 4 PRs, you get a surprise box. And there are many over here. So that way you can earn in more swags. And these are the repositories that usually have issues for you to work on. So what I can do is issues, check the repository list. So let's see. So these are their repos, PayPal's repos. I can go over here to check out their issues. I can head over here. And then there are a lot of issues for me to work on. And what are they giving me? They are giving me, what are they? 1+ contribution. They are giving me, okay, one gets a backpack. So yeah, you can do things like that, right? And Kushal has dropped in a link for Good First issue. So let me open that as well. So these are Good First issues. So I can select over here. Let's select Rust. And then I can go over something that looks a little bit less daunting. So let's go to Acme RS. So Acme RS has 5 issues, but yeah, make sure to check over here. See, there is no Hacktoberfest tag over here. So this repository is not participating in Hacktoberfest, but there are Good First issues, so you can work on them. All right, I guess that does it for me. I will stop sharing over here. Okay, yeah, Kushal Purushottam RP, you can continue. Thanks.
Hello everyone. Now we will tell you that which repositories from COPS are participating in the Hacktoberfest. Apit, can you share your slide screen? So we have many projects that are under development and have certain releases. So these are the repositories of COPS that will participate in Hacktoberfest. So you can issues to contribute with. These are Hackalog frontend, Hackalog backend, and COPS software SDG group site, dev group, which we have in COPS. And CShock leaderboard is for CShock conduction. And then we have NPM packages like React Gallery, Previewer, and Site Practice. These are the repositories that will participate in Hacktoberfest. So you can check out the issues in these repositories, and you can certainly find good first issues in these projects. And you can ask your seniors if you are unsure about how to contribute to them. So can you move to next slide? Next, even next. So we have this event planned for whole of the October. What you can do is that we have created a leaderboard for you so that you can create pull requests or issues. And after creating those pull requests and issues, you drop the link in after you have to register in it first, and then you have to drop the link in this website. We will evaluate those, and if you make valid contribution based on that evaluation, you can secure a good place in the leaderboard, and based on the leaderboard ranking at the end of October, you can get some swags from COPS too. So that is what COPS has planned for the Hacktoberfest, this event. So this will be a month-long challenge for you. So you can so that it gives you a spirit to participate and win swags from COPS too. So this was for this slide, and can we move to next slide? So this is about visualizing. So you can go to any repo link and you can append /network to that to see all the changes from all the contributors over the years. It's just for show off purposes. You can attach the images somewhere at other places to show your contribution. Can we move to next slide? So we have attached all the useful resources that you will find helpful to getting started with Git, and also using GitHub for remote hosting. And so these will be shared with you as we have come to the end of the slides. Now Kushal will deliver what else is left, and thank you everyone for joining.
So I would say that that's all for today. Means that's all what we can tell you about how you can do on Hacktoberfest, and that's a thing. The links will be posted to you on certain for guides which can help you. Like some links are already posted, and the link for this PPT will also be posted to you. Apart from that, I don't think I have much to say. As I think that we were able to explain you properly, and yeah, we would be happy to address any doubts you have. For COPS swag, I think Luck should be able to answer. I don't think we offer swag as of now, but it's marked for Hacktoberfest. So if you want, contribute in a repository and it gets merged, you will get swag from Hacktoberfest. I don't think we currently provide any swag for now. If we change an image, then it also contribution. If it's a valid issue is raised, then it's a contribution. But say you are changing an image just for fun, then it won't be contribution. Yeah, we will share the slides. The links will be posted to you. Most of the issues are assigned. Try to see, as Alex has already answered, but also try to search for one which is not assigned, or even if they're assigned, see that if there is not much activity, try to make a PR. Alex, you can take over. I don't think there are much. I think you can conclude with that.
Yeah, so we had a great session, and I think a lot of people got their queries answered. And yeah, so I think that helps you somewhat. And just to let you know, like so Kushal and I started with Hacktoberfest our GSOC journeys, and yeah, that was really helpful for us. And so yeah, you can take a head start too if you want for GSOC, and yeah, that will be a lot helpful. So someone posted in the link for gsocorganizations.dev, so you can check out the organizations for GSOC over there, and these are really good organizations, so you can start contributing over there as well. And if you start from October only, then there are very high chances that you will get selected, but you can start later too. So yeah, so that will be all. And yeah, stay tuned, we have 2 more workshops in place for you in this October only, so we'll meet again. And yeah, thanks Kushal, Purushottam and Arpit for taking this session. Thank you, and thanks everyone for attending it. I will stop the recording now.